the host is it's not myself, it's Tapiwa. Tapiwa, take over your hosting duties.
Must be muted as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Namer. Welcome, Dr. Zhira. So good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to take this chance to introduce Dr. Zhira to you. So he's the founder and president of Genius Research and Consultancy Incorporation in Canada. So he did his Bachelor of Honors degree in Economic History with the University of Zimbabwe, and also a Master's of Arts in History at the University of Alberta. He also went on to do his DPhil with the University of Alberta as well, a DPhil in History and Political Science. So he's also been doing coaching in business startup and expansion, team building, leadership, and personal development. He previously worked as a director of operations at Zimbabwe Diaspora Investment Council. So he's also been a university lecturer at the University of Alberta, and he's worked as a volunteer at various organizations. This is just a few of the things that he has done. So I present to you Dr. Maxwell Zhira. I think let's just take this time to welcome him so that he feels welcomed. Welcome, Dr. Zhira.
Thank you
Yes,
for having me on the set. I'll just excuse myself a minute to plug in my laptop here. I'm running low on power, so I'll be back in just 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine, Dr. Zhira.
Thank you so much for having me on the set here. And I'm glad, Dr. Namo, you actually ended up calling me, because I honestly got my my time zones spun around here. My alarm was set to an hour after this, so I'm glad you called in. So it's one of those issues, and I'm apologetic for having done so. So maybe because we are quite behind our time here, I'll dive right into my conversation. I would like to share maybe a PowerPoint presentation, if that's okay with you. So let me see if I have sharing capabilities here. Okay, so let's see. Assuming that you guys can actually see my screen, I gave my talk a little title here. And the title of the talk I am giving is gonna be Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. As you can see, I didn't quite update it. I had actually prepared it for last week, but I think that's besides the point. We just keep going here with what we have. So I'll just speak a little bit more to what the person who introduced me said. I confirm everything to be the fact, except for a few things that maybe I'll just repeat myself. I'm the president at a company called GRC Inc. It's a Canadian registered company that does consultancy work. And in terms of my education, I do have a BA from UZ and MA from the University of Alberta here in Canada. And I actually, it's actually not a DPhil, but it's 2 PhDs in history and political science, which isn't really, there isn't a difference from what the introducer said. I'm a Zimbabwean nationality. I was born and raised in Zim and from originally from Masvingo, but I'm also a Canadian citizen And I have lived now in the diaspora for almost 18 years now. So I have quite a bit of diaspora experiences to share. Now, let me talk about what I think would be the focus of the talk. What is research? It's a question that I think you guys have kind of grappled with when you started out your course. I'll also speak to the issue of innovation. What is innovation? I'll speak to the issue of entrepreneurship. What is it? And I'll talk about the relationship of these three domains with my career experiences. I personally would like to draw from my own experiences. Maybe they might inform you. Maybe they might inspire you. Maybe they might motivate you onto something that you would find fruitful in your own life. And then I have a bit of a challenge for students of research and innovation that I'll leave behind, and we'll see if we'll have time for a Q&A if I manage to cruise through my talk here. So for me, when I looked at the issue of research to try and define what it is, I came up with a very simple definition, and it is simply for me, the search for information. You see, I think you saw on my logo, for those of you who did a little bit of research on my company, you probably would have seen on my logo that, okay, I'm trying to get some participants to join here, but maybe let me leave this for now. I saw a dialog box coming up, so I'm trying to see if I can get them to join.
It's okay, Doc. I can sort that one out for me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So you probably saw on my logo that I have an element of research in what I do. So the type of research that I do basically is just searching for information. For the most part, it's on the internet on a day-to-day basis. What I'm searching for is browsing government websites, looking for things that are of interest to me, and of course sharing those things with other people. And sometimes it's as simple as just saying to other people, what is the path to come to Canada, for example. I get a lot of people asking me that simple question. So I want to move to New Zealand. I want to move to, how do I go about doing that? So sometimes it's just as easy as sharing that information or sharing some websites with people. I also have to mention that in my own career path, in my educational journey, I did quite a lot of research on migration, regional migration. And for my PhDs, I did the migration of Zimbabweans to South Africa around the year 2000 to 2010. That was, the focus of my research. And I was basically looking at their experiences in those host countries and their sense of resilience in those host countries as well. So that's part of what I did. And as said by the introducer earlier, some of the research I do involves working with community-based organizations, non-profits, individuals, and I'm a big fan of personal development. So I read extensively on books and materials that are simply meant to empower a person to think independently and to develop themselves personally. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the types of innovation that are there. This is a simple search that I did online, and I'm sure you as students of innovation, you would be aware of this chart. So you can say there's maybe four, certainly there's more than four types of innovation you could think about. But one matrix to look at it is to look at the market and also to look at the technology. So if you look at that matrix, you have incremental innovation, which is simply the use of existing technology to increase value. You can think about innovation as disruptive innovation, simply the application of new technology to current markets. You can also think of innovation in terms of architectural which is the usage of lessons, skills, and technology to a different market. And then you have radical, which is, the new industry and revolutionary technology. So if we had more time, we could have dived into different, real life scenarios to see, what type of innovation was done for this industry. You certainly can get examples of things like Walmart, which is a giant wholesale store in North America. You can look at things like McDonald's, you can look at things like KFC, and then you can try to see, the types of innovation that those entrepreneurs would have done in the market. But because we are short of time, maybe we won't be able to actually use some specific examples. So I promised to talk about, how I use innovation at my own company, GRC. And maybe while I am at that, let me add that in addition to GRC, which is Genius Research and Consultants Incorporated, I also have involvement with a variety of other companies as founder and CEO, as founder and president. One of them would be called Secure Investments Worldwide, which is basically registered both in Canada and in Zimbabwe. I also have the Zimbabwe Diaspora Investment Council, which is a non-profit organization that's basically interested in mobilizing the Zimbabwean diaspora to invest in Zimbabwe. Something we have seen happening in a lot of other countries of late, Ethiopia, Rwanda, India, just to mention a few. And in these countries, citizens have really leveraged their diaspora experience to give back to their host countries. So I'm involved, with that a lot. And my organization, one of the organizations I work with, we have an MOU with the government of Zimbabwe through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade to basically work and encourage the diaspora. And we have a variety of investment activities going on in Zimbabwe right now. I am pretty sure after this conversation, we are going to be inboxing in each other to continue the conversation, or maybe there may be a chance for even another set to speak more to what the organizations I'm involved with are actually doing in Zimbabwe right now, in the areas of mining, in the areas of transportation, even in the financial services sector. So those are some of the things we're doing. But at GRC, we look at innovation, in terms of capacity building, bringing more people to the team, building a stronger team, delegating tasks to other people, offering multiple services to our client base, diversifying our markets, our customer care skills, increasing on our efficiency, the usage of virtual tools and branding. Those are just some of the few examples we are talking about with how we innovate at my own company. I would like to talk about entrepreneurship. And for me, this is simply the provision of goods and or services for profit. There's a variety of factors that would affect entrepreneurship, such as environment. I always give the example, and I mean, just jokingly, that it may be difficult to do business in a certain environment than in another. It may be difficult to start a business in an environment like Zimbabwe than it would be in an environment that like the UK, for example. Then there are other factors like cultural. In some cultures, entrepreneurship is highly valued and highly encouraged. In others, if you start to have a lot of wealth, a lot of success, that could be construed to mean maybe uneza winners or something like that. There's also religious factors, political and social. So there's a variety of factors that affect entrepreneurship, or a combination of all of these and others, of course. I want to move on to a challenge for you folks. When we look at Zimbabwe and the African environment, let's look at the past, present, and potential challenges we are facing. What could be the role of research? What could be the role of innovation? And what could be the role of entrepreneurship in moving a place like Zimbabwe forward? What could be the role of Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe? I think part of what Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe can do, you are already doing it. Getting a good education is one step. Engaging with expatriates would be, I would say, another very good part, which is exactly what we are doing on this set. The role of Zimbabweans in the diaspora, what is it that, people like us can be doing? I certainly feel that a part of what we can do is to do a brain refill, to give back to our communities, to give back to our countries of birth, and also to encourage others who are here to do the same. We certainly can learn from what developed countries have done to develop themselves in the areas, of, technology, in the areas of the economy, in the areas of the rule of law and democracy. We certainly can learn, all of that and try to influence change in our own countries of birth. Then we look at the global context, what's changing, what is different, who are the big players right now? So we look at things like the pandemic, for example. We look at things like China's economic power versus the United States economic power. We look at, the international context, really, who is competing for what? When we have resources in Africa, but we don't have the technology, when we have the human power in Africa, but we don't have the technology or the investment capital, when we have the technology, but we have high levels of corruption, what does that mean for development? What does that mean for research? What does that mean for entrepreneurship and for innovation? So those are some of the things to think about. I'm pretty sure, out of these questions, we can develop some, could be some research papers. It could be some, maybe books. It could be, further discussions down the road. So let me see if I have any other things to share with you. In terms of sources, of course, I would say, the first book I would refer you to, of course, is the Holy Bible, is the original source of knowledge. I also spoke earlier about personal development and extensive reading. So these are some of the books that I read a lot myself that have influenced my thinking. A little book called Think and Grow Rich by a gentleman named Napoleon Hill. Another piece called The Science of Getting Rich, another gentleman called Wallace D. Wattles. Succeeding with What You Have, Charles Schwab. The 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class by Steve Siebold, and The Gospel of Wealth by Andrew Carnegie. So I would want to leave you with a takeaway. You are doing research, you are doing what you are doing. Think entrepreneurship, think innovation, think technology, think of ways that, within a Zimbabwean environment, we have so many challenges, but those are also opportunities for us to think and to develop some solutions. We shouldn't wait for outsiders to bring solutions to us. We should think of those solutions on our own. We should get together and figure out how we can solve, the problem of potholes, for example, how we can solve the problem of power outages, for example, how we can solve the problem of other diseases that are plaguing us, how we can innovate technologically, and even how we can fight corruption. Because, when we have that cancer in our society, sometimes, our efforts won't succeed because we have corruption. So how can we fight that so that we build our country and make it, I believe, a first world place as well. So on that note, I will pause my conversation here, and we will see if there's any questions, and we'll take it from there, and I'll stop my screen sharing as well. So thank you so much to the moderators for your time.
Thank you, Doc.
All right. Thank you, Doc. It's good to talk to others who may have experience that we may not have. I'm sorry I had to go away for part of your presentation, but I took some notes from what you were presenting, And I like the fact that you talked about the context in which innovation and research can take place, and especially on the issue of cultural. The fact that we have discussed before about, in fact, maybe you don't know, Doc, but our university and our country, we have now this approach towards innovation, which is known as heritage-based innovation. And when we look at heritage, it exactly touches on issues of cultural context, how we can use our culture, how we can use our cultural context to develop. I like the fact that you mentioned that innovation actually can be nurtured because of culture. Other cultures, I'm thinking here, I mean, most people know that the Jews, for example, they have a culture of entrepreneurship, which means that when you make money, you are actually going along with the culture. Whereas other cultures, may I say, like our own, we don't have a culture of entrepreneurship. If you make money, it's either there's this saying that is attributed to the former president. I'm not going to state it in its exact verbatim, because I think most of us know that way in Zimbabwe, if you make money, it's either they consider you to rimroi or uri something else, if you are a woman especially. So I think that's a very important thing. But I'm challenging us and also you, Doc, that probably the culture of innovation is nurtured. Probably what we need is to nurture culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, and maybe find ways of nurturing that such that the next generation will not be like us, will be more accepted, will accept more wealth creation and other things. So that's my challenge to us. And I'm also happy that you actually work with in terms of as part of the diaspora, in terms of giving back. I like the term that you used to say we have the what did you say, mind feeling or something like that,
Brain
giving
refill.
back. Yes, brain refill. Yes, I think that's a very nice term, because we have the brain drain and then it is refilled. So I think that's a very good initiative. I'm hoping that, like you said, we'll continue the conversation, and some of our interns, some of our innovators will get in contact with you. This is an opportunity for networking, such that you will present to us the kinds of opportunities that you have within that context of the diaspora giving back. Maybe you can just give us a brief look at what opportunities are there in terms of partnering with the diaspora.
I mean, yeah, certainly I can speak to that. There's a lot of room to strengthen, our synergies. In this world, we are all interconnected one way or the other, and technology makes it possible to actually interact very, very frequently. There are some specific things that I mentioned that maybe I could bring up, and listeners can resonate with those. So when people are in the diaspora, there's a lot of interest in continuing to do activities at home. Certainly, there's those who are closer, maybe in the sub-region, have more of that interaction with Zimbabwe just because of geographical proximity. But the people that are far off, you talk of overseas, there's always a need, at least in my experience, and this is some of what my work does, to just reach out to the mobilization of people that are over here and say, hey, what can we do back in Zimbabwe, in the area of power shortages, for example. So there are some projects, could be small scale, medium scale, could be large scale projects that the diaspora is really interested in undertaking in Zimbabwe, and that involves building teams of local people, the foot soldiers, who can actually execute or implement those projects because they are on the ground. So there are things in the talk of the let's say one of my companies involved in the installation of solar energy in different parts of Zimbabwe. And we're always looking for team members. We're always looking for technicians. We're always looking for managers. We're always looking for, people to give us information that we need. We're always looking for marketers, for example, to throw our flyers away or to pass word, using word of mouth. The same applies with the financial services sector. There's a need for labor. There's a need for people who can actually do things. Same, with mining. When people in the diaspora have an interest in mining, for example, and they are figuring out how can we actually do it. You can't be, in both places at the same time, but you need people on the ground who can actually work for the companies. We are fortunate that, our levels of literacy are fairly high. So it's never an issue to actually train local individuals to execute or to implement projects successfully because of the levels of education we have. It's just continuing to develop these synergies and continuing to interact. So I will tell you of a personal experience. Recently, I think it was in December, I was building teams in different sectors, teams in energy, teams in finance, teams in mining, teams in agriculture, and I left those teams. They are still performing very well. And I have a habit of coming to Zimbabwe almost every year, sometimes twice a year, just to see how those projects are doing. I also look forward to an opportunity of having people from who are there, it could be in your department there, moving around, maybe coming overseas to learn in some of these educational experiences, so that when we put our minds together, when we figure out how to move together, we have a better idea, we have a better chance of succeeding. So hopefully that speaks to your question there, Dr. Namo.
Thank you so much. Let's see if there are other questions, others with questions for Doc or comments.
Thank you, Dr. Zhira. This is what amazes me is the navigation that you have had from Bachelor of Arts to where now you are really in business, as it were. So really that is something that is not common in most of us. We would rather, if we did agriculture, I would be agriculture till I die. And I think your experience really shows that you can navigate across disciplines and still be successful. Maybe what I wanted you to highlight briefly is how can we logically lay out research, innovation, and entrepreneurship? Does anything has to start, maybe to say, does it start with the innovation, or does it start with research, or are they all intertwined, as it were, or are they continuous processes as one goes through life?
Sure. I think it's not a matter of figuring out how to arrange them in a certain way. I think it's a matter of understanding how to make use of them at any given point in time. So again, I would draw from my own personal experiences transitioning from a purely academic career path to a career path that involves multiple vocations, really. Still an academic, doing into business, public speaking. I think part of what really occurred in my case is it's, my entrepreneurship developed, I would say, organically. And by that, I simply mean it developed out of my interests, out of my personal interests, out of things that I truly enjoy doing. And this is something that you would have heard that, if you want to go into business, get into something that, you truly enjoy doing, such that, even when it becomes difficult, you don't get so discouraged. So in my case, I enjoy reading, I enjoy writing, I enjoy helping people. So as I was developing my entrepreneurship skills, it was just something that I was, always doing naturally in my own spare time, until people ended up saying, hey, you know what, why don't you even charge, or even develop this into a business, because you are doing it so well and you seem to be doing it so consistently. So in a way, I would say I was innovating, I was developing an entrepreneurial queue, and I was, using my research simultaneously. Let's say you come up with a business idea, but you don't have the information or developing a business plan. You certainly will need to do some research to develop a business plan and to hone in your business plan. As you are, maybe execute entrepreneurial idea, you will discover this market has already been taken, or maybe this technology doesn't work, and then you need to innovate. So in a nutshell, those three dimensions are all intertwined, and you are continuously depending on them at any given point in time. So consider arranging them in a certain systematic way. As they come, just use them as you move forward. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc, for that question. It is actually a question that we were we were discussing earlier on, and we just got to someone to answer it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Any other? Yes. You wanted to say something?
I was going to leave you with our contact information here for those who continue the conversation with us. As I said, I work with, personally, I believe in building teams. So in Zim, I have teams of people doing stuff. Here in Canada, I also have teams of doing a lot of things. And I have multiple partners running, operations, for various things. So for those people that would like to get in touch with either myself or, members of my team, which I highly recommend, continue developing these synergies, you can get a hold of us at, the email is president@geniusrc.com. So the email address again is president@geniusrc.com. And we're also actually available on Google. So if you just do a Google search for Genius Research and Consultancy, it will pop up, and you can leave a review, you can leave comments, you can see more of what we do. You certainly can reach out to Dr. Namo here. She has my number, and I'm always open to conversations with people. And I certainly think in this class, maybe we may be able to encourage a few folks to consider moving over to Canada. either for business purposes, to continue their education, or just to visit as a tourist, and just to experience Canada, the weather here and things like that. Hopefully, we'll be over pandemic soon, so that we can start traveling and interacting much more freely, and developing one another as we move forward in life. So feel free to reach out to us, and we'll see how we can work together to innovate, to continue research, and to build that entrepreneurial culture we would like to build for our nation.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much, Doc. And we really appreciate that you are open to further networking. I'm sure most of those who are listening will take this opportunity, because as they say, our friendship lasts longer than anything else. So thank you so much, Doc. We know you took your time to talk to us. Time is valuable. I also want to thank everyone who attended the session. We are always having this session, so we may bring you back later on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for attending. Those who came to the conversation. I certainly look forward to continuing to be in touch with you guys, and to introduce you to some of my colleagues in Zimbabwe, to introduce you to some of my colleagues over here, so that out of this academic exercise, we actually transition into action steps. We actually do, out of what we've just discussed today. So it's always a pleasure for me to interact with people in Zimbabwe. Hopefully, when I get to Zim sometime this year or sometime next year, whenever that's gonna be, I'll get a chance to meet some of you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zhira. Thank you so much.